Welcome everybody to the live panel on how has COVID-19 disrupted or accelerated your digitalization strategy. I'm delighted to have two distinguished guests joining us today for this live panel, Yolanda Blázquez from Telefónica and Maik Mueller from KWS. But let them introduce themselves. Yolanda, please introduce yourself and explain a little bit about your role in the organization.
So thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation to this event. So my name is Yolanda Blázquez. I'm the Processes and Operations Director in Procurement in the global organization within Telefónica Group. I've been in the procurement function for over more than 20 years now, playing different roles. So from the processes, compliance and regulations aspects, to the IT projects in the last few years. And right now we are in the middle of a transformation project that we call Procurement 2020. So that's basically my role at the moment.
Thank you, Yolanda. Maik, tell about yourself and your organization.
Hello, my name is Maik Mueller. I'm working in procurement for over 20 years in several functions and companies. And 2 years ago, in October 2018, I joined KWS, a family-owned German company working in plant breeding, as the head of the Global Transaction Center for Procurement and IT, which means I'm responsible for purchasing operations as well as IT operations at KWS globally.
Thank you both, and again, thanks for joining us today. Maik, let me start with you with the first question. What is your 5-year vision around digitalization?
Yes, by 2025, actually, a combination of digital end-to-end processes and the workforce of the future will enable no-touch and low-touch so as to pay transactions. And for everybody within KWS, Amazon-like buying experience. By this time, actually, repetitive transactional work will be executed by bots, which are managed and supervised by our digital procurement experts. And these are specialists in system and process management, in automation technologies, and in advanced data analytics. Whereas process exceptions and special cases will be handled by our functional procurement specialists, which are multilingual and experts in all aspects of the source-to-pay process and knowledgeable in all local and commodity-related process deviations.
Very insightful. Thank you, Maik. Yolanda, what is your 5-year vision?
I think in 5 years' time, most of the large companies will have completed all the digitalization and automation in their source-to-pay process. That's for sure. I think the difference will be more on the how they use the data on the one hand, and also I think all the compliance, sustainability requirements are even more important, and I think will be more important in the future. And I think will be part of the process and will have to be embedded in the process smoothly, I think. And that's also part of the challenges that the companies will have in the next few years, I think. But I think the difference will come from the way they use data and the way they focus their resources, the procurement resources, the organization, on the really value-added activities and the more strategic categories and the more strategic agreements.
And what progress have you made, Yolanda, against this vision already?
In the past, we have digitalized the whole process, I mean end-to-end process, from the moment we register a vendor, all the RFX, the catalogs, POs, invoices, the whole process has been digitalized. Also, we have a common global process. I mean, all the operating businesses are working within Telefónica Group with the same regulations and the same procurement process. And we think we have a robust process, but now the challenge is to simplify that and to focus the procurement organization on the value-added activities. That's the challenge at the moment, and also evolve the technology. Because we are in the middle of the project to replace the current system to a new system. So we are evolving from a on-prem, very customized system to a cloud system, a more standard system that also enables us to simplify the process and to go to a more standard process.
Clearly in the middle of a very big transformation. Good luck. Mike, on your side, what progress have you made against your vision already?
Yes, we started in October 2018. And when I joined the procurement function, there was just a group of 3 people on the ground. So we had no processes defined or documented. We had our system not being ready for central procurement activities. And within the last 24 months, we were able to recruit an outstanding team of 30 procurement professionals from all around the world. We're able to cover more than 25 languages. In January 2019, we started rolling out our procurement services to the first countries, and now we are live already in 20 countries with 3 different ERP systems. We trained about 1,500 users so far, and we are processing about 1,500 purchase orders per month, 2,500 end-user requests per month. We have deployed data analytics and robotics to improve our service quality and the process efficiency, and we just started working on interesting topics like process mining, machine learning, artificial intelligence, where we expect the first results by the end of 2020 still.
Lots of progress, exciting. Yolanda, back to you. What challenges have you faced and how have you resolved them?
To be honest, the barriers that we found were more on the resistance to change. Even that barrier was even worse than the COVID-19, believe it or not. Because actually in the last few months, we didn't slow down the project at all. So actually the evaluation of the new IT sourcing system was done during those months. In the second quarter, also the POC. So we had a very intensive activity in the last few months, and we didn't slow down the transformation project at all because of COVID-19. But I think the barrier was more on the mindset and on the resistance to change, basically.
I hear you and feel the problems that you are facing, and resilience is very important there. Mike, how about yourself? What were the challenges you face and how did you resolve them?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge on our end was really keeping the focus, as there were so many topics ongoing. We had to deploy a new ERP system, we had to hire people, we had to master the transitions, so to get new countries into our procurement services. And here it was very helpful to have always a plan on hand to make sure that you always know the big picture which you're heading towards at the end. And in particular during the COVID times, it was very helpful to have a plan on hand and to also share that with the involved parties. Because as Yolanda just mentioned, it's very challenging to keep the communication and the alignment ongoing, being connected only remotely. And here I try to use as much as possible video conferencing in order to not have only the audio connectivity, but also to really see the other person and see the reaction of the other person, which can be very helpful in order to overcome resistance, or first of all, to see that resistance are there in the face of a person, which is very hard to see when you're on a telephone only.
Yes, video has put us all closer together where we were separated by big distances. And Mike, still with you, how are you approaching automation?
Automation for me is so fundamental and important that it shouldn't be done just in an ivory tower. Some companies call it a center of excellence for automation, or even worse, you just outsource it because other people can do it better. We really try to learn from each other. And we base our automation on 3 pillars. First of all, make it simple. Because if it's simple, you can involve everybody who is affected, and you get also people engaged. They are not scared because they don't understand, and they see it's also not rocket science. And at the same time, it's an opportunity to grow and prepare yourself for the future. So that was very helpful to really create fans within the organization. And these fans then create additional followers which support the automation idea. So the simpler, the better. The second pillar is really solving real-life problems from the very first moment. To not move with artificial examples, but to, from the very first moment, use automation to solve real-life problems, because that helps people to understand that it's tangible and that it's not a threat for them. And finally, the third pillar is really starting small, because the smaller you start, the less painful will be the failures in the beginning. And you can learn from them and can continue. So I think these 3 approaches, make it simple, solve real-life problems, and start small, were so far quite successful. At the same time, we try to understand bots as our future colleagues. So the bot will support us, the humans, but also needs maintenance and also needs a manager. So that's how we approach it, because that also helps that people are not scared of the bots because it's somewhere artificial, far away. It's really within our office. And that helped us so far to get the support for automation and for the bot technologies.
Thanks, Mike. Very interesting approach to automation. Yolanda, what about you? How are you approaching automation?
In our case, we started with the very simple use cases. Now we have achieved almost 30% of the transactional activity is partially automated. But the challenge now is to simplify the basis, the process, because we don't want to automate the complexity. We want to have a simple process and then automate as much as possible. To try to keep the consistency and the governance end-to-end, but not to fool the process with many different requirements. So we try to keep very updated the requirements and the must-have, what we really need in the process. And then from that, to automate and to digitalize. With the change of the system, what we are doing basically is the perfect excuse to review and to renew the process. So basically, that's what we are doing. But definitely, automation is something that needs to be embedded in the procurement organization and is very, very helpful. And we think that needs to be on procurement agenda for sure.
Thank you, Yolanda. I loved how you both put simplification as part of your automation vision. It's interesting, in Amazon we put simplification and innovation as part of the same principle, because we see the two things going hand in hand together. So it's very, very much aligned. One last question for both of you, starting with you, Maik, maybe. What is the next step in your digital transformation now?
The next step for us is to stabilize and enhance our core, which is the order management process. Stabilization means that we have to try for improved user satisfaction, increased process efficiency and quality to really make the change we have now deployed sustainable. At the same time, we need to enhance our order management core, so to say. So we will roll it out to Asia, to the Americas, as well as we are going towards really end-to-end processes which are fully integrated, so that afterwards we can then move forward with more advanced technologies like machine learning, artificial intelligence on a broader scale, and also connect to strategic sourcing topics at the same time. But first we have to focus on our core, so that based on a very stable core we can then enhance our services.
And same question for you, Yolanda. Your next steps in digital transformation.
Yeah, in the near future, we are going to complete the IT project. So we go live at the beginning of next year. Also, at the same time, we are renewing the catalog system, and we are incorporating new buying channels. So we believe we need a combination of different catalogs, so internal catalogs, punch-outs, and other channels like the use of Amazon Business that is giving out the opportunity to route the long tail spend. And we think that having different channels for the stakeholders, they will use more intensively the catalogs, and will enable focusing the procurement organization really on the negotiations, especially on the more strategic negotiations. So we see catalogs as a lever for the strategy that we want to achieve.
Thank you both. Very concrete next steps, very interesting. I think we have a couple of minutes left, so let me pick up a couple of questions that our audience has been asking us. And I think the first question is for you, Yolanda, specifically. How are you coping with supply chain disruptions since the pandemic outbreak?
We have, in the procurement organization, we have a supply chain team that is managing that. Basically, it's a question of managing risk. But I think we have made a lot of work up front. So managing risk, I think, is becoming more and more important. And this pandemic has given us has proved that risk management strategy needs to be on the top priority in the supply chain organization. So in our case, there is a global dedicated team managing that, in managing alternative sources and managing all the impact. So in our case, was sorted out because there is a team dedicated and there is a strategy, a clear strategy on that. But of course, this is not something that is sorted out overnight. This is something that is the result of a dedicated team for years, and globally and locally, being coordinated together. So.
Thanks, Yolanda. Thanks for your answer. Maik, one last question for you, the last minute that we have together. Could you elaborate on topics for which you have started activities around machine learning or AI?
Yes, for sure. Machine learning is just a very concrete example. All the end user requests we get is the classification of these end user requests in order to either route it to the right person to answer it, or to process it automatically with the correct answer from our huge library of questions and answers. So that is one topic where we are currently working on leveraging artificial intelligence and also to come up with more functionalities, for example, for chatbots, so that we help our business to follow our procedures, our procurement procedures, much more easily, because it helps at the end the business, but also us to stay efficient and lean.
Yolanda, Mike, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been excellent to hear directly from you about your digitalization and automation strategy. And now on to the next sessions of ABX 2020.